I'm just going to come right out and say it. I fully understand from experience why it is that so many people do not want to buy an EV, because they have great fears of the charging experience, the possibility of running out of power, and the concern that they won't find somewhere to charge when they're out with their cars. I get it. I get it now from experience. For all these years, 5.5 years, I've lived inside the Tesla bubble. It's a wonderful place to live. It's comfortable and warm and cozy. It's fast. It's easy to do everything, to charge. Everything is good. Outside of that Tesla bubble, things are harsh. They're unpredictable. They're scary. They're confusing. They're frustrating. We've got 5-6 days before we get on a plane and we head down to Cozumel. And yes, of course, I'm still keeping my Model 3 Man channel. I'll just broaden the commentary to include all things Tesla, Tesla developments, the new vehicle, which I am going to be in line for. And the second channel, Cozumel Man, link for it up there somewhere. That's another channel that I'm going to be telling people what it's like to move continents and go and live somewhere else, and what are the kind of obstacles and hurdles that you face in doing that. How do you get around them? So kind of a bit of a diary of our experiences and what it's like to live there. But right now, I'm living in my daughter's apartment. Janine and I are on the floor on an inflatable mattress, and I've had 5 of the most miserable days I can remember for a long time. Not at all connected to being in Philippa's apartment. We're having a wonderful time. She's hospitable, although she does have some ground rules. But anyway, it's wonderful being here. The misery comes from my experiences at having to go out and charge the Nissan LEAF 2012, we used to call her Dragonfly, and to get out and find a place to charge. You see, in this apartment, they don't allow you to dangle an extension cable over the balcony and plug the car in down the bottom. That's not allowed. So to charge, I have to go out and find a public charger. And that is where the misery comes from. So there are a bunch of things, but I got them here so I don't forget them. Let me begin with what is really just a minor gripe, but it's frustrating all the same. We're in the middle of winter. Temperatures out there were 0 and 1 degrees. It's very cold. It's worse when you're sitting at 10 o'clock at night and you're in the car freezing and you're waiting for a charger to become available, and you can't turn the heater on. It'll drain what little battery you've got. And even if you're charging and you turn the heat on, you're going to be slowing down the rate of charge quite incredibly. Discomfort while waiting to charge. Okay, that's a first world issue. I'm happy to take a blanket, wrap myself up, and stay warm that way. But the rest of the obstacles and the rest of the causes of my misery are a lot more important and a lot more serious. For example, number 2, many of the chargers do not work. I went to a charging location where there were 3 chargers. 2 of them were malfunctioning. One said out of order. The other one would not connect no matter how much I did. It would not make that handshake and do the exchange and start giving charge to my car. The third one did. Now, is that an exception? Is that the exception to the rule? Sadly, it is not. Many surveys have discovered, and many users have discovered, that they will get to a charger and find it not functioning. And that's frustrating. Worse than that, it means you have to run around with an ever-reducing SOC, state of charge, in a desperate attempt to find somewhere that you can charge quickly and not be sitting for hours and hours. So malfunctioning charging units are common. I've heard figures as high as 2 out of every 4 give problems when you actually go there to charge. That's not a good advert for driving an EV. And number 3, it's expensive. Over the last 5 days, I've spent about $48, getting close on $50, for very little added range. Now, part of that is a function of the fact that the BC Hydro charges according to time. And if it's a cold night and your battery is cold, it's got no preconditioning built into the car, and your battery is old, the rate of charge slows right down, but you keep paying per minute. Literally, I've spent $48, getting close to $50. And if this were on a monthly basis, I'd be over $200 just for public charging. That is crazy. That is ridiculous. Tesla charges, by comparison, are reasonable. And because they add charge much faster to Tesla vehicles, if they do have to base it on time, which they used to do in BC, I believe it's changing now, if they do, at least you're getting more added miles per minute than I'm getting on the BC Hydro charges just up the road from here. So the price and the pricing structure is, I'd say, it's iniquitous. And I've paid a lot of money for very, very little added range benefit. And number 4 is the complexity and the diversity of different charges belonging to different companies, and each one having different methods of you signing up. Either some of them you have to use the app, others you have to get your credit card on file. There's a variety of different ways, and still a few others are free to charge at. I didn't find any of those. And if they are, they're L2, which can take hours upon hours of time that you don't have if you're running around trying to get jobs done in the last few days of your stay in Canada. And that is frustrating. So you get to a charger, suddenly you find, well, you have to sign up for this app, and then you have to download it, and then you have to give them all your details, and then you go to yet a different charger, and it's yet a different set of hoops to jump through or hurdles to leap over. It's not easy. It's not like a Tesla charging experience. Every Tesla goes to the same charging network, and you only register once on the Tesla app, and everything is plain sailing thereafter. That is not true with a different type of EV, such as the Nissan LEAF, and with a variety of chargers, public chargers, that exist out in the wild. It's terribly frustrating to encounter that. Number 5, the connectors themselves. They are bulky, they are heavy, their cables are thick. The handsets are heavy as well. You've got the two. You've got the combo connector and you've got their CHAdeMO connector. The LEAF uses the CHAdeMO, not the combo connector. But I went to our local Chevron, and they had 2 big, powerful, fast chargers there, getting on board with having fast charger DC chargers. Picking up that cable, it was like I was doing some kind of an exercise routine. So I walked around to the side of the car to Janine, and I just said, can you just hold this cable for me while I just check the plug, the port? And she reaches out the window, grabs it. I had my other hand down below. She dropped it. She could not hold on to it. That's crazy. Why does the connector and the cable, the accompanying cable, have to be so heavy duty? Teslas are not. Narrow little wand that you stick into the port in your car, thin cable that connects to the charger unit. It's easy. Anyone can do it. A 10-year-old child can pick it up and put it into the car. So the unnecessary weight of all of these chargers is ridiculous. Number 6, waiting to charge is the norm, not the exception. In other words, when I get to a charger, a public charger, I assume there will be people already charging, and there might be 1 or 2 people lined up waiting to charge. And that has been my experience. I even got there, what is today? It's Saturday. I got there at 10 o'clock on Thursday night. There were 2 people charging, and there was 1 guy next to us ready to charge. And by the way, he had to come up to me and say, I know you're parked next to that charger there, but I am 3rd in line, and if one of them goes and finishes, I'm taking that one. And I said, I get the protocol, I understand, I'm not going to steal your place. So you get all this jockeying for position and always having to wait. And that waiting time is downtime, often in cold, uncomfortable weather, and you don't know how long they're going to take. Many people go and they park their car and they disappear, and they just disappear. And, could you unplug them when it looks like they should be done? You can. You'll get into trouble because it's somebody else's property. Do you want to report them? No, that's not a cool thing to do. But that's the reality. Waiting in line is the norm. And number 7, people do not obey the time limitations. On the charges here it says, limit your charging to 40 minutes. Okay, so you'd think people would do that. Not a bit. They'll lock their car, plug it in, and disappear to the local restaurant or wherever else they'd like to go, and the car will be charging. One of them I clocked at 59 minutes, and the person was nowhere in sight. But that's not cool, people. That's not right. And so if the time limit says limit yourself to X, and you're going to go way over, can you imagine what that does to all the people waiting in line, how frustrated they get? This is one of the drawbacks. Now in Tesla, when it charges, when it reaches a set limit, they can start to charge your card on file overtime fees if you're still plugged in when you should have disconnected. So you get a notification on your phone, on your app, to say, charging is completed, disconnect, or face overtime charges. With these systems, I didn't get any notification. There was none. The owners didn't come back after 40 minutes. It's a dog's breakfast out there. Nothing is consistent. Things don't always work. Things are complicated. I can understand anyone who says, I don't want to get an electric car at this stage because charging's not a good experience. I've heard all these horror stories from people, from friends, and I don't want to be a part of that. I live in an apartment. I live in a condo unit. We can't charge at home. I can't string a cable across the sidewalk. I have to be reliant on public charges. And I'm not going to pay all this expense, which is not that far off what I'm paying for gasoline, to be part of this daily struggle to get my car charged. And who can blame them? Now on the other side, you do understand now why it is that 14 legacy manufacturers have come to Tesla, cap in hand, hands together, saying, please, Elon, let us use your charging network. Give us access to 12,000 of your charges. Our owners are suffering. They're hurting. We're hearing their cry, and we're begging you to give them the ability to charge. And Elon says, sure. And obviously, he's going to benefit. So my question is this to you folks. If you're considering an EV right now, I don't know how to say this strongly enough without sounding like a Tesla fanboy. It's my recommendation that you get a Tesla. If at all possible, whether it's a used Tesla, somebody just bought my Model 3, they've been in communication with me, they're so happy to have it. I was so happy to have sold it to someone who really wanted a Tesla. But you can buy a used Tesla, you can buy a new Tesla. But after you've bought it, things become easier, all the way across the board. Easier to charge, easier to drive, easier to maintain, autopilot, over-the-air updates, just everything about it is easier. So if at all possible, get yourself a Tesla if you're getting a new EV. All right, well, look, we're leaving on Friday. I'm still continuing the Tesla channel. I'm starting my Cozumel Man channel. Episode 1's already up. I'm recording episode 2 in a few moments. So join me on that journey and stay with me on the Model 3 journey, because we're going to find out a lot more about what Tesla is planning and the new car coming up, the Cybertruck, and all things Tesla. Once again, thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next episode.